Let's talk about the political dead. All right, the political dead. Last night on The Walking Dead, it was the most painful, agonizing show. I have never wanted The Walking Dead to end. I just wanted this hour to be over. It was miserable. Now, before I go any further, spoiler warning. Stop, because I'm telling you who got killed. I'm going into detail. The reason I'm bringing this up, though, let me set the stage. One of the reasons I'm fascinated with The Walking Dead is because it is a great picture. It is a fascinating picture into the look of the world of anarchy. And again, because I have a very diverse crowd, I use anarchy in the definition from international relations, not anarchy in terms of the political movement. Anarchy from the international relations definition means that there's simply no overarching authority to which all actors must be beholden. In other words, there's no global government that can force America or anyone else to stop selling arms, that can force China to recognize, global patent law, international law. There's no overarching force. The UN is not that, right? So when I say anarchy, that's what I mean. And The Walking Dead is a fascinating look in terms of what anarchy would look like. What would the absence of government or the breakdown, the violent breakdown and the sudden breakdown of government in America, in the world, look like? It's fascinating in this from another perspective in just studying failed states. Like if we think of nations that the government that's installed no longer has the legitimate force of power, the legitimate use of force within their region, right? And you have the government and you have warlords, you have rebels, you have all of these people who are competing to be the legitimate use of force in that region. The Walking Dead is a fascinating look into that. And so last night we got introduced to a character by the name of Negan. Or actually, we got introduced last year, but we really got an intimate look into Negan. Negan is a character that showed up originally in the 100 issue of the Walking Dead novel, graphic novel. Negan is a brutal tyrant. He is in a lot of ways, and let me just cut to the point. To me, Negan represents the government. In a lot of ways. Negan has organized hundreds of people. He's organized hundreds of weapons. I mean, all the weapons they would ever need, all of the equipment that they would ever need, all of the force that they ever need. And they have become they have become the recognized authority in the region. So much so that they have the right to force attacks out of all their citizens. And this is the whole backdrop of this new Negan storyline. Negan is demanding 50% of whatever you make. I want, bitches. That's Negan. And I just can't help but think about that top tax margin, what, 35, 37% now? So we're not too far from the government asking for 50% of what we make. In exchange for that 50%, Negan's going to let you live. He's going to let you work. He's going to let you prosper. He's going to let you be protected. His crew will protect you. I mean, after they've beat you into submission, after they've, killed some of your friends, after they've beat your head into a bloody pulp and forced you into submission, Negan is saying, I've got you. I'm going to protect you, but it's only going to cost you 50% of everything you make. This is a brilliant take on what happens in the absence of a government. You get the replacement. You get a replacement, a proxy, someone who's going to serve in that capacity. And this is exactly what happens in The Walking Dead. This is kind of like an allegory. This is kind of like I think allegory is the word I'm looking for our global problem. The entire conversation about Syria, Aleppo, and about Yemen, about all of these, about violating the sovereignty of another nation, of all these things that we talk about on my show on foreign policy. This is a brilliant comparison because think of the entire world as being that small little pocket that Negan now controls. Before Negan was there, you had individual actors, states, individual groups, small little groups who had their own autonomy, they had their own sovereignty, they had their own rules, and if you wanted to force your rules on them, you had to go in and assert force and take over. And that's exactly what Negan has done. Now, I'm not advocating for any of this shit, just to be sure. I'm just letting you know, this is what we study in international relations, that there is the absence of Negan on the international stage. There's an absence of this force, of this brutish force, because we're talking about force. We're talking about someone being able to compel you to give them 50% of what you make. And this force has been so institutionalized in America that we just pay it at the top of our checks. We just pay it because if we don't, we'll go to jail, right? And so because they don't have the option or the luxury of putting people in jail who don't pay their taxes to Negan, they just bash your head in. So that's the fascinating part about the entire show. One is that we could look on a small level, on a micro level, on a nation by nation, and consider like Syria. Consider Syria, where the government no longer has sovereignty over all of its regions. Or consider like probably Somalia would probably be a better example. Consider nations that have sectarian sex. They have sex. They have warlords that control regions. The reason they have that is because the government, for whatever reason, has lost its legitimate claim on force within its borders. And in the absence of that, the strongest man wins. The man with the biggest guns, the man with the most force, the man who often is the most brutal, the man who has no regard for life, would take human life, who will instill fear. And that's why Thomas Hobbes, I believe, the Leviathan, that's why he described the government as a Leviathan, as a beast that comes out of the ocean and instills fear into the people. This is our entire structure. This is the best that human civilization has come up with so far, is to voluntarily or involuntarily give up. Now, here's the difference. The primary difference is, are we voluntarily doing it? Or are we doing it out of compulsion? Are we being forced to do it? And in quote unquote democracy, we believe that we're voluntarily giving this authority over to our government. Question is, what happens when you voluntarily challenge that control? Well, we've been talking about that all night. Anyway, so much more. I didn't tell you who got killed. Maybe I won't do that out of respect for people who haven't seen it yet. But that's the political dead. See you guys next time.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. It's Ben Dixon! If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.